Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from all over the world. Man, we got a great turnout already. Quick shout out to two new members that joined at the channel as we were there waiting on the countdown. Sin City Pilot and Runar. Welcome to the channel, guys. Glad to have you here. Glad you guys are enjoying the content enough to become exclusive members and show off your badges and emojis. You guys are awesome. All my mods in the house, good to have you here. Dougal, Fifth Freedom, and NASA 6 are designated EASA European expert when it comes to anything flight training in Europe. A couple of new faces. Snow Dog, good to have you here, man. So, wow. Let's get it going, guys. This is my first day off. I came in yesterday. I thought it would be fitting. You know, I flew a 319 yesterday, so I just wanted to hop in the 319 again and just do some more hand flying characteristics a little bit and see, you know, how different the sim is versus the real airplane. You know, it's fresh in my mind now, so I figured let's give it a shot in the 319. We're sitting in a wonderful Atlanta Nimbus Studios Atlanta airport here. This is Delta's HQ, if you can't tell by the thousands of Delta airplanes around here. But this is a phenomenal airport. I'm really becoming a fan of the Nimbus Studios airports. I have their Chicago, which is fantastic, and then this Atlanta is another fantastic work of art that they got going on here. So let's hop into the flight deck, guys. Let's get things going. The aircraft is cold and dark. The only thing that I have the aircraft sitting on ground power. Sometimes you'll find the airplane in this state. You know, maintenance will come out to the airplane prior to the first flight of the day, and the flight crew will, or before the flight crew, the maintenance will come up before the flight crew. Turn on the ground power. You know, get things warmed up if it's either hot, or cool things off. You know, get some air blowing if it was really hot. But right now we're just sitting on ground power. Nothing is aligned. Everything else is off. New subscriber, thank you, Chester. Thanks for joining the channel there. Glad to have you. Glad you're enjoying the content. But yeah, guys, I've got some fun little stories I'll tell you from my first day back, or my first trip back. It was a perfect little 3-day, actually. I flew a 321 on day 1, a 320 on day 2, and a 319 on day 3. So right across the board, got right back into it, and it felt good to be back in the cockpit. So let's go ahead and get things fired up here as we are waiting. I'm not doing any ATC today, no Pilot Edge, because obviously we're going Atlanta to Lauderdale. No VATSIM. I just kind of wanted to have a relaxing stream, chill out a little bit. I apologize that this is not a 767 stream. I had some issues with my 767 updating, but I have since then fixed that. So the 767 stream will be coming very soon, although I am very disappointed in the default sounds thus far. Just tell you that off the bat. But it was kind of funny. The first plane I got into, I sat down at the cockpit, and this is what it looked like on my PFD and ND, and I'm like, why does this look so different? Like, what is going on? And it took me a couple minutes to realize that these had just been switched over. Just press the ND transfer push button there. All this push button does is it transfers your PFD and ND display. So if you have a failure, you need to revert, and you want to see something on this screen that would normally be on this screen, you can flip it. So that's what we have. APU, battery start, and not avail. Interesting. So I told you guys I was going to do this stream without the APU. I was not planning a failure, but already off the bat, the lovely Toliss is already barking at me. Let's see if I can recall that. Was that an actual error, or was it just because we're on ground power? Either way, we're going to simulate that we do not have an APU for this flight at all. So we're going to operate with a no APU. And if that's the case, what we want to do here is we definitely want to get low pressure air hooked up to the aircraft. You guys have probably seen the low pressure air. This is one right here. You see this yellow big hose here? That would be on the 320 series. That's going to come in and hook just under the wing fairing right over here. And that will allow cool air to enter the cabin from the jetway, which is, right here, this big jetway compressor here, this big air conditioning unit, and that will try to attempt to keep the cabin cool or warm, depending on time of the year, obviously. But so we have no APU, so we have to use that. We're also going to need to use ground air, high pressure air. I did a video on this, a tutorial, full-blown. It's on my channel, but we're going to walk through it again today. Just not having it. Now, unfortunately, when I turn on the high pressure air, you don't get the sounds or the external air cart. There'll be an external air cart. They park it right out here, and they run a high pressure air cord, if you will, or tubing into the aircraft, and then you start engine number 2 first. So we're going to do that today, but enough chatting. Let's go ahead and get this airplane aligning. I should have done this first here. We'll go on that one. New member, Phil Simmer 67, man. Thank you for joining the channel. Let's give him a little positive rate for all these new members that are joining the channels here. This is, you guys are awesome. I'm glad to have you guys join the channel, become members. This is awesome. Glad you're enjoying the content. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3 in align mode. We're going to go ahead and turn the batteries on, and we're going to leave external power on. We can't start the APU, so we're going to have to leave that off for now. Everything else looks good on the overhead. Let's hop down to our box here and begin our flight plan. We're going to go from Atlanta to Fort Lauderdale. Zoom this out a little bit. Dougal says, what's Atlanta like for frame rates? Honestly, Dougal, I haven't had any issues. I tested it every time I install a new scenery. I load up the default C90 King Air, and I load up at the airport, and I check my frames. I think I was running about 76 frames, between 65 and 70 frames with the default King Air on default Atlanta. I loaded up the Nimbus, and I was right around the same. I think I was high 60s, so I maybe lost 2 or 3 frames. And then with the Toliss, I think I lost just a few frames, you know, which is expected, but it's still well into the 50s and 60s. But I think I told you guys this on the last stream I did from Chicago. I had terrible frames at the default Chicago airport, but then when I installed the Nimbus Chicago, my frames went through the roof. So I don't know how to explain that other than just explain being explain. We are, I don't even remember what we filed, our flight plan. We are Delta 113, I think. We're going to go cost index at 99. Cruise altitude is 350. All right, guys. So if you're, I know there's a couple of you asking about getting the cold and dark. You didn't want to watch 8 hours tutorial, so I'm just going to walk you through it here pretty much. The aircraft is on ground power. I put the ADIRs into align mode. That was up here on the overhead panel. And then after that, all you got to do is wait for that to align and load your box. Now the last step you have to do is align on ref. You see it says align IRS here. So now in the real airplane, that'll bring you to a separate page, and then you confirm the align on ref. But in the Toliss, just press align right there, and everything is good to go. We're going to depart off of the eastbound runways. We're going to be taking off 9 left. In reality, 9 left is closed. So we're over here. We're over on ramp 4. I think we're over here somewhere in the middle on the Dixie gates. And we're going to taxi out. We're going to take a 9er left, and our route of flight was let me pull up my route of flight here. It's the Smilts. I think it was the JKL. I got a new database in here, so we are up to date on this as well. Smilts 2, wallet, insert, and there we go. So now we can see all the way down to wallet intersection. After a wallet, we're going to join US Yankee. Gosh, I still hate these click spots. Yankee Uniform Echo Sierra Sierra. Now, if you guys want to know where the route is, I do have Nightbot running, so if you press exclamation point route, you can pull up the route at any time. A couple other commands as well, and I will add more of those as the channel continues to grow. But let's go ahead and get this in here. Q79 is our airway. Oops, double tap that. I got a good hotel story for you guys too off this last trip. Something that hasn't happened to me in a long time. Happened to me this last trip, and I just welcome back to work essentially. So we're Adolphi and then return, and then after Adolphi we're going to bulk. Bravo Alpha Lima Kilo Echo. And then we're going to join the Lauderdale. So we're going to go Lauderdale arrival. We're going to land on 10 left on the Jingle 6. The Jingle 6, a very common arrival. The Jingle 6. Via bulky. Insert. Boom. All right, now I can get back up to where we were here. All right, so we have our route of flight in there. So what I like to do is, in order to check your route of flight, you guys probably know this. If you don't, make sure that your rose nav is in plan mode. And we're just gonna skip down. We see grits. I'm gonna turn on the constraints so we can see our altitude and speed constraints as well. All the way down Delphi bulk. It basically takes us down the semi-west coast of Florida. Should be beautiful. We got ortho all the way down there into a manual leg for the vectors to the ILS 10 left. Now, unfortunately, I do have a Payware Fort Lauderdale, but it is very outdated, unfortunately, which I didn't really know until after installing it. But hey, it'll suffice. So we've got our flight plan. Let's go ahead. We can't do our secondary. So rad nav, we come over here. I'm not going to hard tune anything. Initialization page B. Let's go ahead and pull up our Toliss ISCS screen and come to the aircraft configuration. Man, I flew a lot of full airplanes today, so we're going to fill this 319 up 145 peeps. Distribution looks good. Cargo looks good. Block fuel. Gosh, I hate this in kilograms. This is the more I get, now that I'm back flying the line and I'm using pounds on my day job, seeing kilograms here just, blows my mind. Why can't we just have a toggle? All right, so 9,000. The Zebo allows pounds, doesn't it? I think the Zebo allows pounds. All right, so let's go ahead and quick refuel that. That looks good. We're going to do a 1+F takeoff. So we've got our CG of 29.4. I got to be careful because this is backwards from the real airplanes nowadays with the new software. So 29.4 and 58.7. By backwards, I mean the new software, these figures are reversed. But I believe this is a very old or much older software representation. All right, block fuel, that when you see block here, that's our block fuel. We're going to have 9.0. So we'll just put 9.0 right there. Excellent. And I think that's all we need. Oh, we're going to put our perf speeds in. So we've got plenty of extra gas, 142, and our V speeds are going to be 152. Oh, some more exciting news. So since I flew 320 on day 2 of my trip, I have recorded all of the performance data. So just like the Toliss performance test that I did, we're going to do a updated flight factor performance test, and we're going to see how it compares. So I know there've been some tweaks with flight factor, and they've been working on getting their engines and stuff I don't know if they've been actively changing it, but I think there's been an update since the last time I did the flight factor performance video, so I'm going to do it again, and we shall see. Fifth Room says, I hope developers get the Lauderdale update to the new airport changes soon. It's a great airport. Yeah, it is a great airport. Unfortunately, they're down to one runway operations right now for construction. But other than that, everything is good. All right, so let's go ahead and run a pre-flight check. Here's the other thing, too. When I was gone, they changed a bunch of our standard operating procedures. So now I'm using a checklist that's not current with what I use in real life, so I'm going to have to update that, but we'll just use it for now. Our pre-flight checklist, maintenance log and tail number, that's onboard and check. Gear pins and covers remove. Signs. Let's go ahead and do our flows before we do the checklist. So that's on. We've got our fuel. Let's get our tank pumps on. We're going to stay on external power because we do have no APU today. Auto, arm those puppies there. Signs are on and auto. ADIRs are in nav mode. We are still aligning 2 minutes. Fuel, we have 9 on board, 9 required. EFB is checked. Pre-flight checklist completed. All right, let's plan our pushback here. We're still waiting for the, let's get rid of those guys. And ground handling, nope, better pushback. Pre-planned pushback. So here in Atlanta, depending on which runway you go off of, they'll give you an instruction, but normally it's kind of like straight back at a 45, kind of like that, and enter.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
All right, so we are just waiting. All right, still waiting for that Toliss sound pack to come out, so unfortunately our sounds are going to be a little bit not awesome. Are you guys, yeah, you are hearing some of the desktop sound. They're so quiet. Looking at my audio settings. All right, 1 minute to go here. let's go ahead and do some more flows. That's in nav. That is in ready to go. We can go ahead and get the beacon light on. And we're going to configure for a ground air start. So what we need to do is we want to go ahead and turn the packs off. And then we're also going to make sure the APU bleed is off, which it is. And we want to open the crossbleed valve to open. And now we can go ahead and turn engine 1 bleed off. And we should be pretty much ready to start. So what we have to do is we have to start an engine at the gate prior to taxiing back, or else we wouldn't be able to start, right? So let's go ahead and get our top altitude of 10,000 feet here. 10,000 feet, that looks good. We are fully aligned, so at this point, we would just call ground control, or in Atlanta, we would say, Atlanta ground, or Atlanta ramp, Delta 113. We need to start an engine here at the gate. Say, okay, engine start approved, advise ready for push. So now that we are completely ready to go, we'll run our checklist. Before start checklist, windows, doors, and slides, they are closed and armed. Beacon is on, thrust lever is idle, parking brake is on, transponder is in, we forgot to set the transponder mode, so let's go ahead and let's just give ourselves, sorry about that. We'll give ourselves a squawk of 5256, put that into transponder mode, perfect. All right. Before start checklist complete. Ground services, we're going to connect high pressure air. We're going to remove the low pressure air, and it's at this point where it starts to get very uncomfortable in the cabin because you have no air circulating, so we try to expedite it as much as we can here. We're going to move that to start, and you can see we have start pressure 27 psi. So let's go ahead and start engine number 2. The reason we're starting 2 on a crossbleed, or I'm sorry, not a crossbleed, but on a ground air start, is because in reality, this ground air cart that's doing high pressure air, they park it pretty much right in front of the number 1 engine, and they run the core and everything right in front. So you want to make sure you start 2 first, and we would coordinate that with ground crew. Now I know in Europe they start number 2 first all the time, but that makes no sense, especially if you're going to single engine taxi. You don't want to listen to the PTU the whole way. So in the US, we start 1 first, run the yellow electric pump. That way you don't have to listen to the PTU barking all the way out on the taxi out. If you start number 2 first, you're going to have to pressurize the yellow system with the PTU, and it's just, or the green system over here. It just doesn't make that much sense. But anyway, here we go. Let's go ahead and crank engine 2. Start the chrono. And we can see our pressure is holding. N2 is on the rise. On a ground air start like this, you would really monitor your EGTs and your N1s, because sometimes those ground air carts aren't as powerful as an APU start, and you can get yourself in a situation where you have a hot start or a hung start, and it could get ugly. So luckily the Airbus has an auto abort procedure on the engine start, but we still pay extra attention during a ground start. Let's turn up these engine sounds because they are very lackluster. Boom, there we go. That sounds like we have a good start on engine number 1. We've got the avail light. Good start on engine number 1. Let's go ahead, and that goes back to normal. Now we don't do any of our other checklists here at the gate because we're still connected to the jet bridge with ground power and everything, so we need to come to our overhead and get the aircraft ready. We're going to go normal here. As they disconnect the ground air, we can go ahead and turn the packs on. We're still going to keep engine 1 bleed off because that engine's not running, and we can go ahead and move that to auto for now. Now that we have our generator 2 powering the electrical system, and we can verify that over here by coming to our lower ECAM and pressing the electrical page, which is right here, we can see that external power is on. It has priority to AC1, but as soon as I turn off the ground power, generator 2 is going to take over. So watch the transfer here as I turn off, and now you can see generator 2 has taken over and powered AC bus 1 all the way over. So perfect. We've got a good start on engine number 2. we can tell the ground crew to go ahead and disconnect the high pressure air and the external power, and we're ready to push back, guys. Fifth Freedom says your screen quality is great again. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it, man. Slam Cannon, how did the flare feel the real deal after playing so much on X-Plane? We're going to talk about that, Slam Cannon. We're going to talk about that here as we get airborne, so remind me, because I did pay special attention to flare behavior on the aircraft and in the sim and in real life, so I paid special attention. I did a lot of homework for you guys. All right, we're ready to get out of here. Let's go ahead and start our push.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
All right, he's driving up. Let's go ahead and let's take a look outside here. Beautiful. Man, I can't wait for the BSS sound pack, huh? Let's come down here, get ourselves in position. I have my parking brake bound to my HOTAS, so I'll be able to release it without going back in the cockpit.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Mr. Dylan FM in the house. How's it going, man? Dude, I love those 777 shots of that simulator, man. That looks like a lot of fun. That looks like a good time, Mr. Dylan. Big old 777. Some long legs, man. Long flights in a 777. Wasn't it the 777X that just had a cargo door blowout on its static testing? I don't know if you guys heard about that, but I believe they were doing a static pressurization test on the 777X, and the cargo door blew out because, Dylan, you probably know...
Tow connected and bypassed in service. Release parking brakes.
Brakes release, clear to push. Tail to 45.
Starting pushback.
You probably know this, Dylan. Wow, look at this pushback here. This is Fifth Freedom pushing us back after a few Coronas. Holy smokes. Did you guys see that? That was insane. New member in the house. That guy, 55. Thank you for the support there, man. Let's go ahead and give him a positive rate for becoming a member of the V1 community. Fifth Freedom also coming in for $10 donation. Thank you for the great content once again. Thank you, Fifth Freedom. Thanks for being here, bud. Glad to have you guys in the house. Thanks for the support, man. What I was saying about the 777 though is the static test on the cargo door on the 777X. It's not a plug type. I don't think so. Mr. Dillon, you can probably answer. You can probably answer this for us. Donation coming in. DNP coming in. Thank you, sir. Glad to have you here, man. I hope you're learning. I know you're planning on doing some Airbus flying. So thank you for the donation there, man. But what I was trying to say, man, everyone donates and joins at the same time, so I'm trying not to miss anybody. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan. Is the older 777 the cargo door is a plug type versus the X is going to be the old school hooks and latches? So I'm not sure. But what happens when I say plug type, a lot of the doors, especially on I know on the Airbus family, they're plug type. So once they're closed, they physically can't blow out because the door is larger than the hole, so it kind of fits in as a plug. Whereas
operation complete. Set parking brake.
Brake set. Clear disconnect. Show me the pin.
Disconnecting tow.
Whereas some of the older aircraft had the old latches where the door can blow out. It's just being held in by latches. Roberto ERB coming in, a new member. Awesome, Roberto. Another positive rate for you, man. Glad to have you in the house. All right, go ahead, disconnect and hand signals. Captain Gio says, now when we'll see the Zebo. Hey, you know what? All honesty, guys, when I posted up that emergency poll last night for what video you wanted to see today, I was kind of hoping you guys said Zebo, just because I'm looking forward to taking that puppy up for a spin. So.
Toliss disconnected. Bypass bin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
All right, thanks for the smooth push. We'll see you next time. We're going to go ahead and start engine 1 while we are waiting here as well. So let's go ahead and crank that to start. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and turn that back off. We have to do a cross-bleed start. So what we're going to do now is we're going to configure for a cross-bleed start. We're going to go ahead and open the start valve. Engine 2 bleed is on. Engine 1 bleed is off. So now we're going to be putting pressure from engine 2. We're going to send it this way to engine number 1 and get it started. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn the packs off as well. And let's go ahead and separate my throttles here. We'll move this to ignition start. And then we're going to bump up the thrust just a little bit. Now I don't know why. I've had this before here. When I try to start, it won't bring up the engine page. It's just some... Alright, so you see we got 44 PSI. That's a little bit inaccurate, especially at idle thrust. So I'm going to bump up the N1 to right about where it should be. Anywhere between 35-40% is our limit. That should be plenty of pressure right there. Let's go ahead and crank engine number 1. You can hear the PTU barking. And we're starting engine 1. Beautiful. I mean, it's not BSS, but it sounds decent. I mean, the only thing that the gripe I have with this sound is it's very inconsistent. Like, I really have to turn this up all the way. Air bleed 1 off. That's associated. Clear status. All right, we have a good start on engine number 1. We'll put that into normal. That comes up. Flaps will come, bring our thrust levers back down. Thrust will come, flaps will come to 1. I hear there's some new flap sounds coming out in the latest Toliss release as well, so we'll be looking forward to that. All right, our flaps are out. We'll go ahead and reconfigure the overhead. Packs can come on. Bleed can come on. Cross bleed valve back to the auto position. And we have successfully started our aircraft without an APU. And we should be ready to get out of here. All right, let's go ahead. Brakes released, and let's get a taxi light on. Let's make our way to 9. Oh no, I just hit my track IR push button. Hopefully I didn't jack it up. Let's get out of here. Another donation coming in. Tori Elston. Elston? Thanks for the support, man. Glad to have you here. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the content. Thank you for that donation, man. You guys rock. Really love the support. Thank you so much. Bravo Mike coming in with another donation. Toliss love and can't wait for those BSS sounds. You and me both, Bravo Mike. You and me both. Thank you, dude. Appreciate the support. I am super excited for BSS. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in. Let's do a little cinematic taxi away here. Hey, whenever the BSS pack drops with the 319, guys, I promise you, I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I will get up and I will do an emergency stream with the new BSS sounds for the 319. I mean, that still looks good. Now I'm all over the ramp here. All right, let's get back into... I tell you what, I was relieved at how much easier it is to taxi the aircraft in real life than it was in the sim. That is definitely a simism and rudder pedal thing. But all right, everything looks good here. Let's get onto the taxiway. And let's go ahead and do a flight control check. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudders, full left, full right, neutral, auto brakes, max, takeoff config, PWS can come on, on, auto, TARA, Flight attendants, please prepare for departure. Alright, let's do an after start. And before takeoff, I should have done the after start as well. Engine ice is off, yellow electric pump is off. Rudder trim at 0, after start check is complete. Before takeoff all the way through, gross weight comparison is complete. Pitch trim was... Oh, I don't remember what it was. No, we'll just call it 0.5 up. Should be good. Set. V1, VR, V2, flex. So we read it off the glass. We got 152, 154, flexing 71 set. Flaps configure 1 plus F. Flight controls are checked. ECAM memo. Takeoff all green. ECAM status check. PWS on. TCAS code set TR. Cabin crew advised. Mini brief is complete. Runway. I've got runway 9er left in the box. It's going to actually be 9er left over here. That is confirmed. Fuel 8.3 required, 8.8 on board. Engine mode selector is normal. Bleeds and packs, very important to check this, especially after doing a cross bleed start and all that stuff. Make sure everything is lights out, ready to go. Bleeds and packs are set before takeoff, checklist complete. Maintain that center line there. Alright. Dougal says we'll hold that to you, we'll hold you to that stream. Hey man, I promise. I mean, the only thing I could see where it would be, or I wouldn't be able to stream it, as if I was on a trip. But hey, if he releases a date ahead of time and I have a trip, I'll drop that trip to stream BSS 319. Absolutely. All right. Oh yeah. All right, we got 10,000 foot here. Looking at our SID, we're gonna be blasting off the southbound runway. Eastbound 105 to Grits, Heisman at 250, not a problem, that looks good. Delta 113, runway 9 or left, line up and wait. Line up and wait, Delta 113. Let's go ahead, and that looks good. Oh yeah. I love the way the 319 looks, I'm not gonna lie. I love it. Oh wait, they changed my engines. I thought I had the CFM engines on there. I guess I have the IAEs on. That doesn't look very accurate. Alright, we are lined up on a 9er left. Let's just verify we have that in the box. Yes, we do. Perfect. Alright, let's get out of here, guys. We're gonna do a man flex of 77. That is set. That is set.
Subscriber ahead. Look up.
Thank you for the subscribe there. Was that Dub? Thank you, sir. Glad you're enjoying the content. Right in time. Let's spool them up. 50% nose forward on the stick. And here we go. Man flex. SRS runway auto thrust is blue. Donation. Hey, who is that? Thanks for entering the takeoff roll. -738. $4 donation, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Neutral by 100. Making me miss my takeoff roll here. Thanks for the support, man. Really appreciate it. Glad you're enjoying the channel. A V1. Rotate. Up we go. Positive rate. Gear up. Start the chrono. Start the chrono. I tell you what. Every time I took off this last trip, I was thinking of that chrono emoji. Chrono's started. Alright guys, I'm just going to put this right into autopilot 1 here because I want to look outside. I've had enough cockpit flying recently. Oh yeah, that looks good. How sweet does that look, huh? I retracted the flaps a little bit early there. Sure did. Boost climb, auto thrust. Oh man, that looks good though, doesn't in. How good does that look? Let's do a flyby view. Watch your ears. All right, we're entering the clouds here. We are plus 24. No need for anti-ice. After takeoff checklist. Gears up, flaps retracted, bleeds and packs are set. After takeoff checklist is complete. Come down here, make sure we are pressurizing. Everything looks good. Yes, indeedy do. Here comes another turn off the right. Oh my goodness. That looks fantastic. All right, back in here. Let's go ahead and make sure everything is looking good. We're 8, climbing 10. We'll say Delta 113, climb and maintain 330. What did I file this at here? Let's see, our 350 was our top altitude. So we'll go straight up to 350. And everything else looks good. 8.9 for 10,000. Gaming Ninja Sheep says, do you release the stick after you've achieved the desired pitch attitude when taking off, even before the wheels completely lift off the ground? Gaming Ninja, do I release the stick after? So, yes, but you have to make sure the aircraft, there's 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and get these lights off. You don't really release the stick. You don't just let go instantly. But what happens there during rotation, you're in SRS mode, and your aircraft is in blending mode.
Donation.
So,
Donation.
Another donation, Darren Allen, $10 bomb. Thank you, sir. He says, thanks for the great stream. Oh, thanks for the awesome content you are putting out. Awesome, Darren Allen. Thank you so much, man. I missed one. Derwin donated $5 earlier, man. I think I missed it. Says, thanks for the great stream. Really entertaining and informative. Derwin, thank you so much, man. I apologize for not noticing that earlier, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support. Thank you, Darren Allen, as well. You guys are awesome. All right, we'll sit here for a minute. Let me catch up with some of these chat messages. So releasing the stick, not necessarily right away, because what happens is your fly-by-wire is in blending mode. So during rotation, you have a direct relationship with the side stick and the elevator. So it's very similar to being in direct law, which is an abnormal flight control law for the Airbus, right? It's not normal law. So what happens is if I move the stick back, I'm moving the elevator instant. They're connected essentially. And it can be very sensitive on the pitch, but that has to happen as the aircraft blends itself from ground mode into flight mode. So after the blending is complete with the fly-by-wire, then yes, after you've achieved your pitch a little bit, you release the stick and you can hold that climb attitude. Now, one thing that I paid special attention to, how's the rip ears? How's the audio? Let me turn it down a little bit. I don't know if it's overpowering my voice, but what happens, what I was saying, I paid special attention to this when I did my last flight. Wow, that's really loud, huh? Let's go ahead and let's turn that down. Let's go ahead and turn down the where is, there we go. Let's turn the environmental down. Way too loud. All right, that should be better. Hopefully that's good. Give me a love sound emoji if you guys appreciate that sound level. I think it was a little tweaked. I apologize, guys. So, what was I saying now? I was talking about flight controls. Oh, yes. I paid special attention to the pitch moment at flap retraction. So, in the 319 specifically, when I retracted the flaps to 0, I noticed the aircraft wanted to tend to pitch up, which makes sense, right? Because right at flap retraction speed, you retract the flaps to 0, you're actually losing lift on the wings a little bit, because at flaps 1 plus F, you're not really creating any drag. You're just creating extra lift, and you're making that lift very efficient across the surface of the wing. So as the lift goes down with the flaps being retracted, the aircraft needs to create a larger angle of attack, so it tends to pitch up. Even with the auto trimming and the fly-by-wire, I noticed that what I had to do with the stick was at flap 0, I just nudged the stick forward ever so slightly. I think I did like 2 little pushes forward on the stick to get the flight director right on the command bar there. Or I'm sorry, to get the what are these called? Command bars? No, these are the command bars. These are the command bars, and on the flight director. So I had to push down just a little bit. I did 2 taps forward on the stick just to keep the aircraft at the good climb pitch. There's 18,000. Let's go ahead and set standard. We're just 29 or 902 out of here anyway, so we're standard all across 1, 2, and 3. It seems like a smooth ride this morning. Let's go ahead and turn the seatbelt sign off. So I did notice that flaps to 0, pitch forward on the stick. Now, on landing and the approach phase, it was very similar as well, and it made sense because you think about it. As I went from flaps, I forget what the setting was. I think I was going from 2 to 3, and I was hand flying the airplane. I did a bunch of hand flown approaches this trip just because I wanted to get myself back up to speed and back feeling good with being comfortable hand flying the airplane since I'd been out for so long. But ooh, here's a beautiful turn. So when I extended flaps on the approach, the same thing happened a little bit, right? So as the flaps extended, even to flaps 3, you're still creating a lot of lift, and the airplane wanted to balloon, but ever so slightly. So all I had to do was just nudge forward on the stick again, just to get the airplane to stay on its desired flight path angle. But I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say it's unnoticeable, but it's very small. Like you don't noticeably change. You don't see this huge pitch up or pitch down moment. So on this plane, on a flap 0, it felt good in the sim. So we're going to try it on landing. I'll hand fly the approach as well. When I extend the flaps, we'll see how it behaves. And then we'll have to try the 320. Jacob Mason says, do you fly the A320s in real life? Hey, yes, I do. Somebody asked how many legs did I fly this trip? So on day 1, I flew 2 legs. And was it 2 legs on day 1? And then 3 legs on day 2, and then 3 legs on day 3. So it got exhausting. Well, I mean, I'm spoiled. Anything over 2 legs, I am spoiled. But yeah, I had 3 legs on the last 2 days. That was a little tiring. But I mean, I just got to get back into it. I'm not used to it. I've been off for 10 weeks or whatever. So another donation coming in. That guy's $5 donation. Thank you, sir. He says, spool them up. Great content. That guy 55. Thank you for the donation, man. Thank you for the support. And thanks for enjoying the content that I'm putting out. It's awesome. It makes me so happy. It was weird. This whole trip, I was thinking, what can I do to make my stream better? What can I record? So I came up with different ideas, recording for some video ideas for you guys. Thank you, James Shank, for the subscribe. So I have some ideas for you guys for videos. I actually, after this video here, after this stream, I'm going to record the 320 takeoff performance video, and I'll have edit that one out. And then I also have Vincent Crump coming in with the $20 a bomb donation. He says, keep up the good work, V1. As always, enjoy teaching the content. Vincent Crump, thank you so much for that donation, man. Really appreciate it. Another one, Lucky67 coming in. He says, can you be so kind to quickly share your current joystick settings, sensitivities, curves, and all that stuff? By the way, great content. It's the best stuff out. Absolutely, Lucky67T. Let me do that for you. So you guys want to see joystick settings? I'm going to go, it'll pause the sim here, but that's not a problem. What am I looking for? Here we go. Settings, joystick. So I am using the Warthog. For response curves, this is my roll axis. You can see it's pretty standard. I got a little bit of a curve there just because, if you're going full deflection, it's very rare you're going to be using full deflection. So I have a little bit smoother center of travel, I guess. And then for my pitch, same thing. Here's the figures. And as you can see, you know, it's curved out towards the end, but very rare you're going to be using maximum deflection in the sim in normal operation. So I'd rather have a little bit finer grain through the normal range of travel. And then for control sensitivity, this is what I'm running in the sim. Now I know that the developers, they suggest maybe not doing the stability augmentation or whatever, but and in the Airbus that makes sense. I should probably have these off, but I've kept these on for non-fly-by-wire aircraft, and I've just learned to fly the Toliss and the flight factor with them on, and I really don't notice that much of a difference even with them off. So this is what I run on my Warthog. I feel like these settings for me on a Warthog don't feel much different than the real airplane. But that brings us into flare law, and I might have to change this though for flaring, and I'm going to show you why here in a minute. My yaw is up pretty significant because I have very crappy rudder. Well, they're not crappy. They were really good pedals at one point, the Satec Pro Flight rudder pedals, but I've had them for so long. They've moved with me across the country multiple times, so they're beat up. My right axis is completely borked pretty much. No spring on the right pedal, so my pedals are very lacking, so that's why I have such a high what is this, control response thing here for yaw. But other than that, those are my settings in the stick. I hope that helps you out. So what I wanted to say about the flare law, so we talked about this a little bit before I went back to work, and I was saying that I don't find the aircraft being necessary to flare as high as you have to in the sim. So from my experience, and I paid special attention to this, in the 319, I'll be happy to say, guys, I don't know how many landings I did because we switch legs every leg. I think I did 4 landings this trip. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 landings this trip. Not to boast, all but one of them were frickin' buttery smooth. I did one approach with no auto thrust, no flight directors, no nothing, and we had a nice cross, nice quartering tailwind, and it wasn't firm, but it wasn't a butter, so. Not to boast, but I was paying special attention to how I flare the airplane in real life. And what I've noticed, that it's not necessarily the pitch that is off. It's the amount of deflection that I put on the stick in the real airplane. On the stick in the real airplane, I think I only move it, maybe, oh my God, maybe 2 inches of movement of displacement, 2 or 3 inches. It's not a lot. I think 3 sounds a lot. Probably closer to 2. In the sim, I have to move my Warthog significantly, probably I would say about halfway back on its range of travel to achieve a quote-unquote butter with the landing rate plugins that we have, right? So I think there is a discrepancy on the hardware side of things, so I might have to play with my settings to see how I can get more response on touchdown with flaring, and that might have to do with the pitch control sensitivity. I may have to turn this down because this is for, in relation to high speed and G forces when you're moving through the air and deflecting the control surfaces at high speed. So while this is important, I think, to have in a non-fly-by-wire airplane in the sim, I think it might be hurting me on the Airbus in landing. Now, just for reference, a couple of my real smooth landings in the sim on the 319, I think I parked the flight, the command bar right at the 5. So if I zoom this in, I can't make it any bigger, but so there's 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. I parked the command bar just above the 5, and it was more than enough pitch to get a smooth attitude. Now, the guy I was flying with, he actually landed, his first landing was right at the 7, and it made me nervous. I was like, watch your pitch, because we were in a 321, but what he did, he actually just brought it right up to 7 and parked it. He didn't flare anymore, so it wasn't firm, but it was a more than enough pitch. So I'm going to pay special attention to this landing in Fort Lauderdale. We should see how much pitch I'm requiring. I'm going to flare the airplane. Before I change anything, we have to have a baseline. So I'm going to keep my pitch augmentation where it is. And I'm going to flare the airplane like I would in the real airplane with my Warthog stick. And we're going to see what that correlates to pitch here. And we're going to see how the touchdown rate is. So if it's a really firm landing, then I know I need to adjust probably the augmentation, because I think in the sim it's making me pull back much further than I'm used to. And that's uncomfortable for me to do as a real pilot, because I don't want to have a tail strike. Now, in a 319, a tail strike would be extremely hard to do. But you don't need more than about 5 to 6 degrees of pitch to get a really smooth landing in the real plane. So I don't think I should need more than that in the sim. And I don't think it's an X-plane Toliss problem. I think it's a myself hardware settings problem. So we'll pay special attention to that as we fly into Lauderdale. Oh, look at that beautiful ortho down there. Peely UK says, what clouds and weather are you using? I am using Active Sky, and everything else is default. So I just have Active Sky. That's my only weather add-on. And I think Active Sky asked if you want to use the high definition clouds that they have, and that's what I have selected as the high definition Active Sky default clouds. I haven't downloaded any other cloud packs or anything like that. So I am running what is it called? X-Vision preset? Whatever it is in the description. I think it's the Impressive preset or something like that. I'm running that one default as well. So whatever is in the description is pretty much what I'm running right now. Look at that, a little bit of shake on the wings. Gosh, I love X-Plane, guys. This is freaking awesome. It's so much more fun to sit in the back here in X-Plane than it is on as a passenger. So I had a deadhead on one of my legs on this trip. A deadhead, we call them deadheads. It's basically where you just have to be in position. So you sit in the back as a passenger. And I sat in the back. I sat up a little bit closer to the front. But I don't really like sitting in the back of airplanes as a passenger anymore. I don't know if it's a control freak thing. I'm so used to being in control of the airplane that as a passenger now, I don't really like it. I don't know. Oh yeah, that's the view right there. That's the view right there. Wallace says there's a certain amount of hours you have to work as a captain. What do you mean? In order to upgrade to captain? It depends, and that can depend, depending on your country and your airline. I know in the United States, it's probably the highest and most restrictive. You have to have 1,000 hours in type before you're eligible for upgrade. But that doesn't mean you can upgrade. What you have to do is you have to have the seniority to hold a captain position. So when you get hired, you go to the bottom of the FO or first officer seniority list, and as people either leave or upgrade or move, you start to move up the first officer list. You gain seniority, right? Pretty soon you're going to be the most senior or a very high senior first officer. And then when you upgrade, if you hold the seniority to upgrade, you go to the bottom of the captain's list. So now you're back at the bottom of the list. You don't have the seniority to hold the days off you want. You don't have the schedules that you want. You're kind of at the mercy of the company until you move up the captain's list. But the captain's list moves much, much slower than the first officer list, because once you're a captain, the only way you're going to move up that list in seniority is if, God forbid, captains die, or they retire, or they leave. And if you're at a good airline, captains aren't leaving, because once you reach captain, that's it. You're done. That's where you're going to be for the rest of your career, most likely. Now, some guys will sit on the top of the FO list until they can hold a higher seniority level in the captain's list. So, for instance, if you're a top FO and you have all the days off you want, you get the schedule you want, you're in control of your life, pretty much. If you can hold out there, it's called holding out, and you let, people, the FOs below you will upgrade. But then when you want to upgrade, you slide into wherever your seniority is. So you don't necessarily go to the bottom. You go to wherever your relative seniority is. And then maybe, some people will hold out for a certain base. If you don't want to upgrade and go to the bottom of the list and go to the junior base, you can hold out as an FO and wait till you can hold the base that you want. Or if you don't want to be on reserve anymore, you can hold out till you don't want to be on reserve. That's how it works in the States anyways. I hope that's what you're responding to. Yes, sir, Allah. Hello from Kuwait. How's it going, man? All right, let's take a look outside, because this is just... Oh, yes. I actually want to go here. We'll zoom this out. That, my friends, looks pretty freaking sweet. That looks juicy. Fifth Freedom says, if we want, I wouldn't believe the landing rate tool that much, but it could be an indication anyways. Yep, I mean, I don't necessarily believe them too much, or I don't believe them. I think, I don't know, because I know it can be done. I mean, I know you can butter these planes out. Captain Canada, I mean, he butters them all the time. So, I mean, it's not that it can't be done. It's just, from my perspective, and maybe I should change it as a streamer, but, you know, from a real-world perspective, when you're landing, all you're caring about is a safe landing. And it's within the limits, and it's within your company procedures limits. You know, you got to be in a certain spot on the runway. You have to have, you know, certain lateral responsibilities, you know, if you have a crosswind. So that's all you're really concerned about. If you get a smooth landing, awesome. If you plop it down, hey, whatever. But you don't want to just drop it in either. Thank you for the subscribe there, Andrea Tatini. Appreciate it. There was a 757 United, and I don't know the details about this, but I read something about it when I was on the road this last week. I guess they totaled a 757 from a hard landing in Newark. Do you guys know about this? It's the first time I had heard about it, and I wasn't sure, but apparently United at one point, I don't know if it was recent or maybe a while ago, but it was a 757. They had an extremely hard landing, and it actually totaled the airframe. So that's definitely a no-no. You don't want to do that. Jeremy Harvey at V1. Developers should make it so that when you load their specific add-on, it reads what hardware you have and auto-tunes your control settings to that specific add-on. Jeremy Harvey, absolutely. I'm kind of spoiled in that sense because I know DCS, or Digital Combat Simulator, does that for each module you fly. My goodness, guys, let's just take a break and look at this ortho. I flew over Florida on this last trip, and this is real. Like, that's what it looks like, guys. That is what it looks like. But, yeah, and there is a way to set up control profiles, and I really need to do that. I need to be more diligent. I think when my honeycomb yoke arrives, I did contact Honeycomb to see what the status was on the pre-order shipments and stuff, and they said that all the yokes that were pre-ordered have reached their facility or customs or something like that, so very shortly they're going to be released and being sent off to the individual customers. So they're not forgotten. They are actively working on it. The yokes have all been in transit. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I'll just pull up the email and read it here. I can verify what I'm saying to you guys. But I mean, we're just a couple emails with Honeycomb here and there. They're awesome. I'm super excited to get their new product. And when I get the Honeycomb yoke, I am going to reset all my controls, and I'm going to set profiles for the 319. I'm going to set profiles for, you know, the King Air or the 737, whatever it may be. This is verbatim what Honeycomb told me. They said, we are still on schedule with delivery. We just confirmed that the pre-order shipment is now on its way to the airport and will take a week to 2 weeks to process through customs and reach their warehouse. Once it reaches their warehouse, they will have tracking numbers available for you once the shipment is at the warehouse in Southern California. So they also said they'll notify me or any of the pre-order customers if anything changes. So if you have a Honeycomb yoke on pre-order and you're wondering what's happening, that's what I just told. That was as of yesterday. or something. So it's not forgotten. Slim Ken says, V1, I flew into K Denver a couple times in the sim Wednesday, Thursday. Who knows, you might have been one of the live traffic blips on my TCast. That's how awesome connected flight sims are becoming. That is pretty awesome, Slam Cannon. All right, Captain Clueless in the house. How's it going, man? Good to have you here, Captain Clueless. He says, V1, touching base, missed the takeoff, but great to be with you now. Cheers. Captain Clueless, awesome, man. Glad to have you here. I hope you are feeling okay today, and I hope we're going to get some flying in this weekend. Glad to have you here. Exo says, hi, could I ask if there's a knob in the cockpit to adjust stiffness, tension of the controls? Stiffness, tension of the controls, e.g. stick, rudder pedals. There is no way to adjust the flight stick here. And we are in cruise. We should put that in below. And the seatbelt sign is off. Okay. There's no way to adjust the tension on the stick because it's fixed, essentially, of the tension. Now, the rudder pedals, you can adjust them by pulling this tab here. It doesn't adjust the stiffness or firmness. All it does is it will slide the pedals forward or back. So if you have short legs, you want to move them forward, or if you're a really tall person, you want to push them back. You just pull on this little tab right here. It's kind of hard to see, and that will slide the rudder pedals around. As far as the thrust levers, there's also no friction lock on the thrust levers. It's just a standard friction. You go from, you have the little detents, like you can feel the detents physically when you move the thrust lever. So 0, a little bit of a bump, then you reach the climb detent, you hit a bump, then you have a small amount of range again, and then you hit another bump, and then of course the toga go around bump. Wow, we took off with our radios off. Nice job, guys. Way to keep me on my toes. It's all right though. Good thing we weren't on requiring them or anything like that. All right, multi-scan. Let's go auto. I'm trying to get this radar. I think the radar does work, but there is nothing out there. I'm looking at our active sky map. We're not showing any returns, so that is good. It's a beautiful day for flying. Let's go ahead and just step back to the jump seat here. Yes, please. Captain Rankin says, can you do a dual engine failure in cruise video? Man, I haven't thought about doing one. The only one I've thought about would be like a Cactus, 1549 reenactment video. Maybe I'll do that at some point. I think it'd be fun to do that once we get a good multi-crew, you know, just take off and do a legit Cactus 1549 reproduction. But a dual engine failure in cruise, Captain Rankin, that is a bad day, my friend. Fifth Freedom, I'm flying bus on a yoke. No, I won't be, Bourbon made me do it. No, I won't be flying the Airbus with my honeycomb yoke, I promise you that. I will not be doing that. But I am super excited to do a few Zebo streams with it. I'll tell you what, after taking that Zebo up last week, I'm excited to get in the 7.3 and do a flight or two. And we're also going to be doing a 7.6. So we have, oh, that brings me to my next point. We've reached 4,000 subscribers, guys. That is awesome. Every one of you, thank you so much. You've subscribed to the channel. We've reached 4,000 subscribers now. So we're going to do a legit long haul. I'm going to take the 767-300. That's what our commercial pilot members have voted for on the community tab. So we are going to take the 767-300. And I'm thinking I want to go down south to maybe Tegucigalpa or Honduras, or we might go into can't think of the airport's name. There's another one down there in South America. It's kind of a challenging approach, but I do want to take it down south into the mountainous terrain and get a nice approach with the 7.6. I'm hoping I'll have a honeycomb yoke by then. If not, you know, we'll just do it with the joystick. But be looking for that stream to drop here relatively soon. I've got a very busy schedule coming up, guys, so you're gonna have to bear with me. That's why I'm going to record a lot of footage this weekend so I can edit it and get it out to you. You'll see some recorded videos dropping in the next week, but my schedule for the next couple days, guys, is gonna be tough. So I start another 3-day trip next week, then I have a day off, then I start another 3-day, I have a day off, and then I start a 4-day trip. So it's almost 2 weeks of work, and then it gets back to normal. So I had to do that to stack my schedule just because I came off leave and I wanted to have enough.
Subscriber ahead.
I wanted to have
Up.
enough time in the system, so I had to stack up my schedule. It's going to be rough for the next 2 weeks, but then after that, expect some more streams and more consistency. But I do ask for your patience as we power through the next couple weeks here as I get back in the grind. But yeah, then after that, 4-day trip, I'm back to the normal. I have a 2-day, day trip, things like that. So that'll be fun. Slam Cannon says, I believe it happened at Raleigh or Greensboro not too long ago. Hard landing, totaled an aircraft. Can't remember what it was though. Ouch. Donation coming in, a Mamba1. He says, greetings from Singapore. Always enjoy watching your streams. Congrats on the 4,000 subs. Keep up the good work and hope your channel continues soaring to greater heights. Thank you so much, Mamba. I appreciate it. I have no doubt that this channel is going to continue to grow, and it's going to become the #1 stop for Airbus information for flight simulation on YouTube. So thank you so much for your support, man. Thank you for tuning in, hanging out with us today. Really appreciate it. All right, let's take a look, see where we are, guys. We are, let's zoom this out. This should have been an airport mode. Let's put terrain mode on here and see. Oh, that's right, it doesn't paint that realistic. Oh, maybe a little bit. So we are, there's Gainesville. So we're on the panhandle of Florida here. Let's go ahead and put Fort Lauderdale in there. 284 miles, so we should probably start planning our descent. 361 on our flight plan route. Let's go ahead, we'll wait for a minute, but our direct distance to Lauderdale right now is 283, so we're still looking good. Still have plenty of time. We're gonna land, so unfortunately on the new Lauderdale, if you guys are unfamiliar with how Lauderdale looks, I do have the custom scenery down there, but it's not very accurate. It's not an accurate representation. So this is the most up-to-date diagram for Fort Lauderdale. And what they've done is they have, 10 left, and the airport that you're going to see today, it's actually going to say 9, so it's outdated. I believe it says 9 are left and 9 are right. But 10 left is a 9,000 footer, and 10 right is an 8,000 footer that they've extended. So what you're going to see is when we land here in X-Plane, you're going to see 10 right, or an X-Plane is going to say 9 right. It's going to be shortened. And you're also going to see a crossing runway, which is no longer there in real life. It's turned into a taxiway. I believe is it Zulu? Oh no, it's November. They took one of the runways and changed it, took it out. So, and they've also extended the runway. So I hope they do come out with an update to make Fort Lauderdale more representative of what it actually looks like. So for that reason, we're going to land on 10 left. They land on both of them in real life, 10 left, 10 right. More often than not, you'll get 10 left, but they do land on 10 right. What happens when they extended the runway, there is a huge gradient here. So essentially, as you exit Juliet 8 or Juliet 9, this is a drop-off between the terminal and the taxiway. So you're taxiing right along a drop of about 20 or 30 feet and then into the terminal area. And you can see they've actually extended the terminal area as well. This is Terminal 4. I believe, I don't know what gates these are, hotel gates or Gulf gates or something like that. So it might look a little bit different as we make our approach in there, but it'll neither be here nor there for us flying Delta, because we're going to fly in. We're going to take 10 left, and Delta parks over on Terminal 1, or Terminal 2. I think Terminal 1 is all southwest. 1 or 2. We'll find a spot over here, but if you see a discrepancy, we're not landing at the wrong airport. It's just an outdated one. That's the only reason. yeah. I don't know if there is a more up-to-date Fort Lauderdale. Maybe one of you guys know if there is. And then let me know. But I forget which one I downloaded. You'll probably recognize it. Jeremy Harvey says real pilots who fly in the sim should post suggested profiles of their aircraft so that users who don't know how the real plane flies get most accurately respond. That's a great point, Jeremy. And what I'm gonna do is, like I said, now that I've just flown the airplanes in real life and they're fresh in my head, I'm gonna do everything the same that I would do in the real airplane. And I'm gonna land in Lauderdale. We're gonna see what happens. We're gonna see if it's a firm landing or not. And then what I'll do is I'll make some adjustments. I really think if I change my pitch augmentation that it will help me out a little bit more on the feeling of pitch. So, but once I get the profile dialed in on my Warthog, I'll take screenshots of it, and then I'll just pin the screenshots. I'll make a pinned message in the Discord so you guys can refer back to it whenever you want. But that's a great idea. Cosmic the Balloon, how's it going, man? Dougal says 107 watching and only 51 likes. Oh man, come on guys. Where's the love? I just came off of work and I'm streaming for you guys. I need to feel the love. Smash that like button. Captain Geo says dual engine failure means find the nearest river or cornfield and land on it. Absolutely. Man, that 321 that they put down in the cornfield, that was a phenomenal job by those pilots, huh? Rand Cooley says, if you haven't joined as a commercial pilot, I would consider joining. It's well worth it, only $6 a month, which is a latte. I joined 3 days ago, and it's very cool. Rand Cooley, thank you so much, man, for the suggestion. I appreciate it. Yep, if you guys are enjoying the content and love the content and want to have a voice in what I stream, the commercial pilot membership is going to be what you want to do, because I'm going to take an option of what I want to do. So for example, I know I want to do another medium to long haul review. Not really a review, but just a stream with it, kind of review it on my thoughts on how the airplane is, and then what I'll do is I post that in the commercial pilot community tab. So if you're unfamiliar on YouTube, make sure you go to my channel and you go to the community tab. That's where I post a lot of my updates. I can communicate with you guys very easily. And I post a poll, and I said, okay, I want to do either the 757 or the 767, 2 or 300. And I post a poll, and the commercial pilots are the only ones that have access to that, and they get to vote. And that'll kind of steer the content, and that'll change, you know. It's like, hey, do you want to see a 319 or a 320 today, or you want to see a King Air flight or something like that? The commercial pilots will be able to kind of steer the content you see in streams. So also you'll be able to check out the V1 After Dark Discord, where I try to keep my response times very quick in the V1 After Dark channel, because that's for you guys. It's only for the memberships. As we enter a nice little right turn here. Ooh, look at that. Let's do a flyby view. But yeah, if you want to talk to me specifically, the V1 After Dark channel in the Discord is where you want to be at. Ooh, yes. Just entered over the top of the cloud layer there. Some more ortho down there. Oh, yes. That looks good. Look at the fields and everything down there. Manuel Correa says, Correa? Sorry, man, if I butchered that. Says, hi, dear Captain. Thank you for your explanations. Very useful for us. I'm a simmer, 320 flight factor from X-Plane 11. From Portugal, good job. Thank you so much, Manuel. Glad you're enjoying the content, and hope you're learning a little bit about the Airbus and how to operate her. She is a beast that needs to be tamed, but together we can definitely do it. Captain Clueless says at V1, I flew last night and had an issue on approach. My altitude was set to the initial value on the ILS approach and not final approach fix. Didn't capture slope. should you use the final approach fix?
Subscriber ahead.
So you said
Look
that
up.
you had. Let me take a look here. Let's take a look at the. Let's pull up a chart here. So let me just pull up a random ILS. So 10 left. So what you want to set, you have to include this when you're doing the approach. You have to capture, and this depends. You shouldn't say have to. Depends on your airline's procedure, and maybe your country, wherever you may fly. But for us, we have to capture the glide slope from below or equal. Now, there are some scenarios where you actually have to capture it from above, and we have a special procedure that we use for glide slope capture from above. But if you're trying to capture the glide slope, and you see here the final approach fix is at 1,800 feet, when you're coming in, you want to be at this waypoint at 1,800 feet. Because what happens here is two things. You will capture the glide slope. If you haven't captured it already, you can capture it out here as well. But let's say you were above it and the glide slope was below you. If you cross Nove intersection at 1,800, you will capture the glide slope, and it also helps us verify that we have a correct glide slope, because glide slope intercept can differ. Now, I'm trying to see on this chart. So the Jeppesen charts show it better. But glide slope intercept on this one is actually at 1,800 feet. Now, it is possible that glide slope intercept will be at a different altitude than the final approach fix waypoint. So you can have Nove at 2,000, but if you're on the glide slope, you should be at 1,800 or something. So it can differ a little bit, but for general rule of thumb, if you cross your final approach fix here at 1,800 feet, you will capture the glide slope if you haven't captured it already. You can capture the glide slope from further out if you're below it, but if the glide slope is below you and your aircraft is descending down and you level off here, let's say you set 1,800 but you were late and you leveled off over here, you're never going to capture the glide slope because the glide slope is below you. So it's always good practice to come in at glide slope intercept altitude or slightly below it if it's permissible with the chart, and then land or intercept it and land. So I hope that answers your questions, but yes, if you want to set final approach fix altitude until you capture the glide slope. Once it's captured, you can set your go around altitude or missed approach altitude. So for this case, we'd set 2,000 feet here. Now, another thing that's been brought to my attention, a couple guys keep asking, are the PAPIs wrong? Are the PAPIs wrong in X-Plane? I don't think they are, and here's why. There's a misconception about the PAPIs and or the visual approach slope indicator. Those are the 4 white lights that you'll see on the edge of the runway. Now, on an approach, it's very common that they are not coincident or coincident, or however you want to say it. We debate over this word all the time. I think it's coincident. Maybe you English majors out there can help, but a lot of pilots, especially in the States, we argue of the pronunciation of this word. But this is the note right here. It says VGSI and ILS glide path are not coincident. So the visual glide slope indicator, otherwise known as the PAPI, and the ILS are not coincident. This VGSI angle is 3 degrees, and threshold at to cross the threshold is 66 feet. So the glide path is not. The glide path is going to get you to land at 1,000-foot markers and probably, 50 feet above the threshold? Depending on the angle. This one happens to be, I think this one is 3 degrees. So look, here we go. If you're on the glide slope and you're doing an ILS approach at 3 degrees, you're going to cross the threshold at 48 feet. If you're on a visual approach on the VGSI, you're going to cross the threshold at 66 feet. So you have to decide before you shoot the approach, what are you going to follow? Are you going to follow the glide slope all the way down, or are you going to follow the VGS or the visual glide slope indicator? So the PAPIs are not wrong in X-Plane. It's a misunderstanding about how they work. Okay, so a chart can be very different from the glide slope. I know San Diego, if you come in, I think it's a 3.5 degree slope. That's a bad example because that's a localizer only. But there are certain runways and approaches out there that are different, and you're going to see this note here. They're not coincidence. So that means that, hey, if you get cleared for the visual approach and the glide slope's inoperative, you're going to be doing this. This is what you're going to aim for. You're going to aim to come down at a VGSI angle of 3 degrees, and you're going to cross the threshold at 66 feet. If you're cleared for an ILS approach and you're following the glide slope, you can expect to cross the threshold at 48 feet. Now, it's important to you know this, because if you're shooting an approach in real low visibility and you break out at 200 feet and you see 4 reds on the pappies, you don't want to freak out and think, oh my gosh, I'm low, go around. Because sometimes, if it's charted that way, you'll follow the glide slope down, because the glide slope is going to get you down into the touchdown zone on the instrument approach. But it may not be the same visual slope angle that the runway has available. So they put that note in there so you don't freak out when you break out at 200 feet above the ground and you see 4 reds over here, or 4 whites, or whatever it may be. It just knows, hey, that's normal, it's not coincident, we're on the glide slope, everything is fine. Now, if you break out early, let's say you break out at 1,000 feet, you say, okay, I'm visual. And for us, our procedures, if we say runways in sight, landing, we've now eliminated call-outs that are mandatory on an ILS approach, because, hey, the pilot flying says he's got the runway in sight, we're on a visual approach, I'm probably going to not follow the glide slope, I'm going to follow the VGSI. Now, it's good practice for airline pilots to follow the slope. And the reason is, especially if you're in a 777 or a 757, if you decide to fly high and follow the VGSI, the guys that are following the glide slope are going to get rocked. You're killing all the poor guys down here that are following the glide slope with your wake turbulence. So it's kind of an unwritten rule for airline pilots, at least for us, where I work and how I've been taught, is just follow the glide slope. Because a lot of guys are going to be following the glide slope. And if you decide to be a hero and fly it high all the way down by 100 feet or 50 feet, the poor sucker in the ERJ 145 or a Dash 8, he's going to be getting rocked by your wake the whole way down because he's following the glide slope. So that's a little bit of explanation about the pappies. They're not wrong in explaining. There's nothing wrong about it. It's just you have to know which approach you're shooting and what you're aiming for. So that's my little spiel on the pappies. I know I get a lot of DMs. After every stream, I get about 30 different DMs, and that's one that's very popular. So I hope that clears that up a little bit for you guys there. Also, real quick, speaking of DMs, I made a mistake. In my last stream, I said that the parking brake must be off for the walk around to get an accurate representation. That is actually incorrect. I was wrong. It needs to be on, which makes more sense, because once it's on, the brakes are active, you'll get a better reading. So I made a mistake there. Somebody messaged me about that as well. So thank you for correcting me. Like I said, guys, I'm not a know-it-all on the Airbus. There's so much for me still to learn. So I make mistakes too. But I try to give you guys the best information possible. Let's take a look at some more ortho. Icefire says, did you ever have to practice belly landings? No, I have not. There is no BSS pack yet. No, there is not. Fifth Freedom says, picture this, a study level 321 Neo with BSS. Oh yeah, one can only dream. I agree, man. HD Sim in the house. He says, what's up, V1? Good Saturday. And yes, I did smash that like button. Excellent, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, we're making a turn a little bit here. We should probably pay attention and get loaded up here. Rand Cooley says there's a Lauderdale scenery in Gateway DTD 29 August of 19. Interesting. I'll have to check that out, man. Carter Wells says, I've been hoping that message will pop up one day saying Toliss has announced 321. One day, guys, one day. Dougal says, brilliant Pappy descent explanation. Thank you so much. Excellent. Thank you, Dougal. Captain Clueless says, given the chart that you had pulled up, I had 2500 plugged in and not 1800, so I should have said 1800. Thanks for the info. We'll be applying for my rank. Don't tell my wife. I'll keep it quiet, Captain Clueless. Your secret is safe with us here at the V1 community. Yes, you had 2500. So, Captain Clueless, you can enter at 2500. If you're at 2500 feet here before Pion, you might be able to intercept. And this is one of those things where it's hard for me to give you a definitive answer until we actually shoot the approach, because at 2,500 feet, at 13.2 miles, I don't know if we're going to have glide slope signal or if it's going to be where it's going to be in relation to us. But generally speaking, I would say yes, you could capture it here as long as you have the approach mode armed. Remember, the approach mode must be armed. But if you're at 2,500 feet and you see that your glide slope is still below you here on your PFD, if your glide slope is still towards the bottom, that means you need to get down and intercept Nove at 1800. Now, our procedure for a glide slope from above is we have to configure early, and then we do vertical speed 2000 to get the airplane down to capture from above. All right, let's probably focus here. We're 216 miles out. Let's go ahead and, now we're talking about approaches, let's go ahead and plan our arrival here. Let's go ahead and put constraint mode on here. Raxam, let's pull up the other chart. We need the star, the Jingle 6 arrival. So we are coming in on the bulky transition over here. A couple of published holds all the way in. Jingle vertical navigation planning information. Expect to cross Jingle at 8,000 feet. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. That is an expect only. As you can see, it's not here in the box. So for Toliss, we're going to go ahead and press Jingle vertical revision, and we're going to place 8,000 feet here as a expect, because that will help us descend, or help our descent planning. We've got 8,000 foot there. Go ahead and return back. We're going to come down the Jingle 6 to Jaram. And then for us, landing eastbound after BPAC, we're just on vectors for ourselves. So you can see here when you look at the box, it says BPAC and then a manual leg out. We're not going to do BPAC. What we're going to do is after Jingle, Jaram, I'm going to give myself a self vector to Pion, which is right here. Now let's see if there's a note. Landing west, landing east. That's lost comms. I don't think I downloaded part 2. Continue to track Jaram, then proceed direct to Hulled for 10 left final. So you can see that this doesn't even have the proper... It doesn't even have Hulled on here. So the proper transition would be Hulled. Let's see if I can pull up an approach via and change it. I don't know if I want to, because I've had to crash the desktop when I've changed the approach. I'm not going to do that. I've had to crash the desktop a couple times. If you load an arrival and an approach, and then you go back and reload a different arrival and approach, it's happened a couple times where I've had to crash the desktop. So I'm just going to leave it. Like I said, we'll give ourselves self-vectoring from Jaram. But what the box should say here, and hopefully this will all be cleaned up when they release a version 1.4. Jaram, and then since we're landing east, our transition is now Hulled and not BPAC, because BPAC and Sedlu, they take you out to land eastbound. Or I'm sorry, to land westbound. They take you out east to land westbound, but we are landing eastbound, so right here we'd have to branch off at Hulled and then continue into the approach. So we're going to self-vector ourselves, even though this is a little bit of a discrepancy here. That's just kind of the nature of the beast with the Toliss 319. The MCDU is a little bit behind, but they are working on a revision, so I'm sure that will clean that up when they get it out. Anyway, that all looks good. We'll look at the actual approach now. We'll zoom this down. There's Pion at 2,500 feet or below, which looks good. And Nove is our final approach fix. We'll pull up 10 left. At Nove, final approach fix 1,800 feet, and if we have to go mist, we'll continue out. We're not going to do mist, hopefully. So, rad nav, there is nothing to hard tune for me there. Our progress, let's go ahead and put Fort Lauderdale in and 10 left. Get to talking, I get behind here. Let's see, top of descent 25 miles, 80 cruise. We're going to do a 310 knot descent rate at 7.9 or Mach. At cost index 99, there's nothing wrong with descending at 340 at 80 as long as you're in smooth air. And Florida typically doesn't have very smooth air, especially in the summertime. You can get bumped around quite a bit. Let's pull up our latest weather for KFLL. What do we got here? Ooh, a little bit windy down there. That should be fun. 060 at 15, gust 25. Format error. Oops, that's the wrong box, that's why. 060 at 15 on the wind. Heavy rain? What the heck? Is there a thunderstorm over the field right now? 3 miles. Heavy rain, mist, broken at 2300, broken at 3900, overcast at 6000. Temperature is 26 degrees. Altimeter 3006. There must be a thunderstorm over the field right now. Welcome to Florida. All right, let's go back to our charts, and we're going to set our straight-in ILS 10 and be 257. Boom. That looks good. Perf data is set. Arc mode, where's our top of descent? Here it is. Oh crap, what was our descend? We said 8,000 for Pion. We're going to go ahead and scroll that down and manage descent mode. Here we go, flyby view, watch your ears. That looks good. Let me pull up my Ultra Weather XP. I'm not showing any storms in Lauderdale right now on my active sky. I don't know what's going on there. Carter says, I wonder if the coincident comment as the Pappy is mentioned on the Jeppesen charts. Yes, it absolutely is. Yes. FSX Nerd, what aircraft do you fly in real life? I fly this airplane right here, 319, 20, and 21. Luke says, so when following the glide slope, do you just ignore the VASI Pappy? Yes, if you're following the glide slope, if you're on an ILS approach, you've been cleared for the ILS approach, and you want to follow the glide slope, you have to follow the glide slope, you follow the glide slope. You ignore the VASI Pappy. Now, once you reach minimums, you can adjust. You know, if you have 3 reds, you might want to adjust a little bit. If not, take it all the way down. Lon Suter says, hi, just joined the stream. Is the Toliss worth it? And they fixed the SID and stars. There's still some work to be done on the SID and stars on the MCDU. But the Toliss is definitely worth it, I think. And especially, you know, the way they've been updating the airplane and the way that their sound's going to be coming out for it. It's going to be probably the best Airbus in X-Plane. Just give them a little bit more time, guys. Taiyang Sun says, every time I aim for the 1,000-foot marker, the Pappy will show 3 red and 1 white. That's close. Maybe that 3 red. That means you're just a tad low. So just adjust your profile a little bit. You should be able to come down. I haven't had a single issue in X-Plane with 2 whites, 2 reds landing in a touchdown zone. I have not had an issue at all. Now, it's going to make it more difficult for you guys to get really smooth landings because if you're on profile, you're up higher, right? So your descent rate is a little bit faster, whereas if you're low, you're dragging it in. It's much easier to get a smooth landing that way because your descent rate is much shallower as you cross the threshold. You don't want to drag it in. You never want to drag an airplane in. 3 reds is about as low as you want to go. If you see 4 reds, you got it correct. Especially at night, you never want to see even 3 reds. Really, even 3 reds is safe. You don't want to see it. 2 whites, 2 reds. Take it all the way down. If you get 3 whites and a red, you know that means you have a tendency to have a longer landing. That's when a lot of other things come into play, right? How long is your runway? What is the runway environment? Is it wet? Is it dry? Is there standing snow or ice, whatever it may be? So you got to correct. That's where, you know, when I talk about as streamers, we do the butter rates and everything for you guys, or in my case, the hard landing rates. Captain Clueless 699 is coming in with a donation. He says, try to become a member, but get air message. Stupid iPhone. We'll try later. Keep inspiring. Oh, Captain Clueless, I'm Sorry you get an error message there, man. I wonder why. It might be a phone issue. You may have to do it from an actual computer. But thank you so much for your support, man. Thanks for being here. Glad I could help you out. I hope you keep learning from the channel. And I'm happy to have you here, man. Thank you so much for your support. So, but like I was saying, I mean, I kind of lost what I was saying. The Pappies are correct. You just have to know which approach you're flying. That's really it. And you want to make sure you touch down the touchdown zone. And oh, I remember what I was saying now. It's the rates, the landing rates. That's a fun thing, you know. It's fun for us as streamers to do it and try to get the butters, but it's totally different. Real life landing versus simulator landing. Landing rates are fun, man. I enjoy it. Speaking of that, the Airbus will actually print out a landing rate for you. The real airplane will, but it's deep in the McDo functions in the maintenance page, load 15. I tried to find it on this last trip, but I couldn't remember how to do it. So I'm gonna have to next time I talking to somebody who knows how to find it, I'm gonna remember how to find it, and I'm gonna print some of the rates out, see what they are. All right, we are descending down. Everything looks pretty good right now. Let's go ahead and do another flyby view because this is just too good. Coming over the west coast of Florida. Oh, yes. I mean, Fork Boy is my hero, man. That looks so good. Fifth Freedom says, Captain K, Toliss or Flight Factor? Right on cue, man. Alright, so we're looking pretty good here. I want to make sure we are still on profile. Oh, somebody also asked me, green or pink here on the vertical descent? It's green. In the real airplane, this is green. So, but I want to say I've seen magenta here as well. I think that's a software thing. I think it depends on what software the airplane is running. But this last trip, I'll tell you for a fact, this was green, and I did 2 RNAV approaches the last trip. So even the brick or the vertical deviation was also green for the RNAV approach. All right, we're 20.3. We're descending in our econ descent window. Everything looks good. Let's go ahead and get the seatbelt signs on. We'll do a cabin call, let them know that we're on our descent into Lauderdale. Dougal coming in with 8 British pounds. Learning so much from you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dougal. Thanks for your support, man. I'm glad you keep learning. I'm glad you're learning. If you guys are still learning, that is good. I'm glad you are learning. That means I'm doing my job here. Thank you so much, Dougal. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for being here, bud. Alright, here is our... I don't know what this symbol is. I think it's supposed to be a deceleration symbol. 18.9. What was our... what did I say our altimeter was? Oops. Altimeter was 3006. 3006 once, twice, and 3 times. 1018. Perfect. So that's it there. Alright, things are looking good. Alright, we're in an Airbus A319. We're going to land on runway 10 left into Fort Lauderdale. Speed restrictions are in the box. GPS primary nav accuracy is high. Plenty of extra gas. I've copied the secondary I sent for landing performance data. Well, I didn't really do it in the sim, but I would in real life. We have plenty of runway there. 10 left, be a right-hand turn off. We're going to land with auto brakes low, full flaps. We'll do an idle reverse. Do an idle reverse on this one. We got plenty of runway. And, yeah. Well, let's see. What's the temp down there? It's kind of hot, isn't it? Not really. 26. We'll do low brakes, full reverse. Try to keep the brakes a little bit cooler for the next crew that takes the aircraft out. 319 for tail strike avoidance. Any questions? No questions. All right. Descent checklists. Approach checklist, I should say. Briefing's complete. ECAM status is checked. Auto brakes are low. Seatbelts on. Minimums. 257 set. Altimeters 3006 set. Once, twice, 3 times. Approach checklist complete. New subscriber. Thank you, Tal Ionsku. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I want to find where's a good view here. Ooh, that's a good view. Or left side. Oh, we don't get to see any ortho over there. There we go. There we go. Peely UK says, if V1, what I like about X-Plane is that you have real pilots like you flying the Airbus, flight deck to sim, flying the Boeing, giving great instruction on how to fly these aircraft. Good job. Thank you, Peely. I appreciate it, man. That's what I love about this aviation community, guys. You know, we come from all over the world, so many different backgrounds, and, you know, but we all share a very similar passion, because in order to really appreciate X-Plane, you have to be an aviation enthusiast, an av geek. You really do, or else you don't fully appreciate X-Plane. And you guys that are on the stream, I know you all appreciate it, so that's one thing that connects us all. It just makes for a really fun environment to hang out. And that's honestly why I do this, guys. I do this because I get to share my passion with you guys, and you guys enjoy it. You guys help me out. You keep me on my toes, and it's just good all around. So I'm excited.
Subscriber ahead.
Another
Look
subscriber
up.
in the house. And thank you, Alex Friedman. You know, I haven't been able to share my positive rate emojis. I've been slacking. I'm going to give a few positive rates out there for all our recent donations and recent subscribers. Let's give those guys a positive rate. Really appreciate it. All right, we should pay attention here, even though I want to fly from over here. We're 13.2, descending on path to cross Jingle at 8,000. So what we can do is I'm going to make sure this is set right. Yep. And one thing I forgot to do is press our LS push buttons on. So now we have that. IOPF 110.5. Localizer 110.1. So hopefully this will change here as we get closer. All right, 12,000. We're good. We're good. We got time. Some more ortho. Colby B, howdy. I really enjoy your streams. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Colby. Jeremy Harvey. V1, I wonder how often Airbus and Boeing release software updates for the aircraft. Are you notified by your company anytime a patch rolls out for your fleet? Yeah, Jeremy Harvey, we will. We get updates daily for different things. You know, sometimes it's software related, not most commonly though, but as procedures change here and there, we do receive updates. I want to say, I can't remember when the last software revision update is, but yeah, we do get notified. And it's in our manuals. It's not, for us personally, it's not, as far as FMS software goes, not very frequently. Other than, you know, the database changing every 28 days. Fifth Freedom says at V1, weird, I smell butter mixed with burned rubber. Oh boy. Alright. Where's 10,000 feet? We need to slow down to 250. We'll help it out. Get a little speed brake action on there. Let's get our lights on. We're going to go ahead and get our taxi light on, even though we know how to operate that by now. Little speed brake action out there. 319. I love it. You can go full deflection of the speed brakes, even with the autopilot on. Really help you descend. Why are you increasing thrust? Why are you increasing? You should not be doing that. Let's go open descent. Thrust idle, open descent. 9 for 8. One thing that I really wish, I should turn this off, see if I'm painting any weather out there. One thing I really wish Toliss would do is these push-pull knobs, you see how like there's 2 dots and 1 dot? That's confusing. It should be 1 dot or 0, because if I want to manage or manual speed, you see how the dots go away? I think this indicator should be dotless, and this indicator should have 1 dot. Like that. It should be dotless, not 2 dots. The 2 dots is confusing. Well, let's go ahead and select speed, 250 knots, 9 for 8,000. Let's go ahead and continue our descent. We'll get our speed brakes out. We're going to set up for our manual vector to Pion. So Delta 113, descend and maintain at 2,500. pretty common to get pretty low early out here in Lauderdale too. They get you down for landing traffic in Miami to get you out of the way, so a lot of times you do come in kind of low for a while. So we're manually gonna not do our jingle restriction. Say Delta 113, proceed direct to Pion, intercept the localizer 10 left approach. All right, direct Pion, intercept localizer 10 left approach for Delta 113. So if we're intercepting the localizer, I'm going to press the loc only push button, which apparently I can't do. I don't know why. Why can't I press the loc? That's weird. Can I press the approach push button? Uh-oh. Oh, you know why? Duh. Activate confirm, guys. Select the speed below 10,000. Activate it, confirm. What? I still can't press it. That's not good. What's going on here? ILS 10 left. Toliss, why you do this to me? Why you do this to me, Toliss? What's going on here? Let's pull up our RadNav page. IOPF 110.5, right? IOPF. Ooh, that's not right. It should be 110.1. ILHI. ILHI. 110.1. We're manually going to tune it. ILHI, there we go. So now we're loaded up. Still speed 250. This is one of those scenes where you'd probably see that. If you've flown into Lauderdale, you've probably seen this here. Oh, it looks a little windy out there. We're getting bumped around pretty good. Get pretty low early, they drag you in. Man, these engine sounds are really lackluster, huh? Let's go ahead and turn things up a little bit. If that gets too loud, let me know.
Donation.
Rand Cool coming in, $5 donations. Thanks as always, lots of fun. Rand Cool, awesome man. Thank you for that donation. Thanks for your support. Glad to have you here, man. All right, we're 250, about 3,000 feet on our descent. We're getting bumped around. Look at those wings out there. Welcome to South Florida, guys. We're still doing 250. We're going to keep it fast until we need to slow it down. Over the Everglades, a bunch of alligators down there. You definitely don't want to have a crash landing out here. There was an L-1011 that ended out here in the drink once. And another Air Florida flight crashed out here. Alright, let's see what this plane is doing. So we're 2,500 feet. We are a little bit low early. I guess we're a little bit early on that. I think it's still looking good. I'm concerned, though, why I don't have any loc and slope information. Hopefully as we get closer, that'll get better. DMP just found this on a checklist. What is EFC 1+2? EFC 1+2. Yeah, that's not ringing a bell for me, DNP. I apologize. I'm not quite sure what that one may be. ChemGS says next crew to bring it back to DFW. Yeah, it's going to be on the board here pretty soon. Vincent Crump says V1. I have a question concerning putting the flight in the box. Sometimes when I'm put there will be a manual before the discontinuity. Do we clear the disco or leave it, try to clear it? So, Vincent Crump, you're going to have a disco on certain approaches. Like if you have an arrival, for instance, this arrival that did not have a runway transition. Let's see, where is it? Pull it up for you. So, in this case, in real life, the box would have loaded up Jarum, HOLID, and then there would have been a discon. And you want to leave that discon there because after HOLID, you're expected to receive radar vectors from air traffic control. So if you were just to go from HOLID to the next fix on the approach plate, that's incorrect. You'll be violated. So you've got to keep those discos in there because they expect you to fly this pattern right here, and then if they don't give you a vector, you just continue on your heading, and then they're going to radar vector you. Same from Sedlu. If we were landing on the other direction, landing westbound, we would have flown out to Sedlu around here, and then there would be a disco right here. Actually, there would have been a disco right at Sedlo, which continued out over the water, and that's what you do. You just continue to fly straight until ATC vectored you back around. If you clear out the disco there and you just connect all of it, that's not correct in relation to with air traffic control, because they have certain expectations of where you need to be, and you can't just go ahead and start connecting dots to make it look better. But if you sometimes you'll get a disco from a departure procedure to your next waypoint en route, and in that case you would go ahead and get rid of the disco, because yes, you're flying from a certain departure and then you're going to your next fix that's in your flight plan. You can go ahead and delete that disco. Sometimes that'll happen if you don't have the correct, or if you're not filed on a certain departure transition, and then you have another direct fix after that, you can get a discontinuity. You could clear those out. Alright, we are approaching 10 miles from Pion. Let's start working that speed back. Let's come back to 210. It's bumpy down here today. Tal says, any chance you'll do some flights in Europe? Absolutely, man. We're going to be all over Europe here. Well, relatively soon. We're going to have to fly across the pond in a 320. And we're going to go all through Europe. I can't wait to get into that Orbix Innsbruck. Oh my goodness, that looks beautiful. Alright, here comes VFE next -10, flaps 1. There's our leading edge slats droop off. Oh, that's so nice. Alright guys, we're not getting any loc and slope information. I don't know if this box is just completely bugged out or what. We might have to just do a full-blown visual, which is scary because I don't know if the visibility is visual. This is right. It says 110.1, 110.1, ILHI. Ah, there we go. Now it popped up. That makes me nervous when it's that far. Alright, so now we have loc and slope information. Let's go ahead and drop it to 180 knots and get flaps 2 out. You guys been around the channel, you know the number one. Uh-oh, what do we got here? Electric DC bus 1 fault. We have a TR1 failure. Alright, clear electric, clear electric. Status. I should have brought up the status page. Read status. ACP3, center tank pump 1, and brake system 1 is inoperative. Okay, so we're going to go manual brakes, auto brakes off, clear status. We're on approach. Let's get this plane down. Delta 113, your clear approach, runway 10 left. Okay, arm the approach push button. Glide slope blue. Whoa. Loc star, huh? So what this plane, what Toliss is doing here is it's going to take me out right. That shouldn't happen. It should follow this RNAV path until intercepting the loc. We just happen to grab the loc there. We've got the loc, 2500, cleared, ILS 10 left approach. So we have an AC bus 1 failure, or a TR1 failure, which isn't terrible for us right now. We're about to land. Let's get the plane down. There is no procedure for us. Flaps 2. Oh, that looks good. Normally we would get, you would say, okay, ECAM's complete, go to the comm. But personally, I would hold off on the comm procedure because we're at 2,500 feet above the ground. We're landing. It's not an immediate threat. It's an awareness item. Let's land the aircraft. We'll ride it up with maintenance. They got to fix the APU on this bird anyway. Alright, we have loc is captured. Remember, we're aiming 2,000 feet above the ground, 180 knots. We're already there. Flaps 2. Let's get a flyby. Watch your ears. I don't know how loud this will be. Wasn't terrible. Wasn't terrible. tell you what, though, we are getting rocked around here. We got a 31 knot wind right off the nose. Tanyang Sun says, can you do some videos on commercial maneuvers in single engine piston? Interesting you bring that up. I have something in the works for that, but not for a little while, so stay around the channel, subscribe, and there's something in the works for that. Alright, we are on the lope here. We've got our slope. I can sort of see the runway out there. I don't know what the METAR was saying. Maybe it's just a quick thunderstorm. So we got 133 VLS. Oh, I'm sorry, VAP is 130 VLS 120. I'm going to bump this up. I'm going to go 130. I'm going to give us 4 knots. I'm going to go 137 on the VAP. With this kind of gust, I'm going to give us 4 knots there. Alright, here is the glide slope. Glide slope is alive. So Captain Clueless, you could see at 2,500 feet, I'm still below the glide slope. So in this case, it will capture because glide slope blue is armed. So in this case, we are all set up to capture the glide slope. If I was in this position right now and I was above the glide slope, I would have to descend to 1,800 to capture it. But we are in position right now. Here comes a glide slope capture. Man, we're getting rocked today. Glide slope star. Go around altitude. Let's go ahead and set and go around altitude of 2,000 feet. 2,000 blue is set. Alright, flaps 2, 180 knots. Let's wait till we reach 2,000 feet and then we'll go ahead and configure the aircraft. Man, there's going to be a nice shear when we get down towards the ground there. Look at that, with 32 knots on the nose right now. We are getting bumped around. There comes 2,000 feet. Manage speed, gear down, arm the spoilers. If he next minus 10, the flaps 3. VFE next, minus 10, flaps full. Landing checklist. Chem crew advised, auto thrust. It is in speed mode. ECAM memo, a landing all green. A landing check is complete. We are clear to land. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the autopilot. We're going to hand fly this approach. I'll keep the auto thrust on so I can focus on my pitch behavior. Well, why we're getting what she's doing there. So right off the bat, I can tell that I have to move my controls much further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and go, let's go into here. Let's go pitch, control sensitivity. I'm going to move that down to 11 for now. Because I can tell, guys, right off the bat that I was moving my stick, my hardware, much more than I would be moving it in real life to get the control response. So now I'm down to 11%. That seems a little bit better. Auto thrust is having a hard time maintaining speed here. You can see ground speed mini is not modeled. Ground speed mini is a factor of our ground speed over the ground, the winds put in the box, and what would happen is we'd probably be flying somewhere close to 160 knots right now, indicated in the real aircraft with ground speed mini, which is pretty much pure magic. If you're an Airbus type rated pilot, you know what I'm talking about. But looks like ground speed mini is not modeled. But we are getting rocked. I tell you what, the turbulence is on. 2 whites, 2 reds. You can see we're on the glide slope, so we are coincident at this point in the approach. I'm going to take her down to minimums, and then at minimums I'm going to transition my visual glide path to the visual glide path indicated to the PAPI. So as we're coming down. So here we go. You can see it starts to become non-coincident. You see now the glide slope is below me, and I'm still 2 whites, 2 reds. So I'm going to go down and get the glide slope, and you'll see we'll probably drop to 3 reds. There we go, 3 reds. I'm on the glide slope. Well, now I'm below the glide slope, so now I'm low. Oh, we got a wind shear there. A little bit of a wind shear. Get back on it. Get back on it. So you could see they're not coincident, and that's modeled perfectly. Wow, I'm moving the stick way more than I would be in real life. .23 knot quartering headwind. Holy smokes. We're down. I got a little sporty there at the end. All right, reverse green, or spoilers, reverse green, manual brakes. We'll take that 115 feet per minute. Coming back to idle reverse, manual brakes. 70 knots. Ooh, buddy. We'll take that. That'll be a fun replay, because that definitely got sporty at the end there. Man, that wind is ripping. I can having a hard time controlling the airplane on the ground. It's ripping so good. Let's start the chrono for the cool down time. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and disarm. Get our after landing checklist going. Welcome to Fort Lauderdale, guys. We'll go ahead and park it next to that 717 there. It looks like we came in just after a thunderstorm. Alright, after landing checklist is complete. We don't have an APU, so we're going to have to connect to ground power before shutting her down. We'll go ahead and turn the nose light off here. I don't believe we have marshalers. We just hit the tug driver here. Be fired. We'll go ahead and do a little cheating view outside. That looks like I'm going to hit the jetway. I think I would definitely hit the jetway if I went all the way in. So yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to stop right there because I don't want to hit the jet bridge. Brakes set. All right, we would have to wait for 3 minutes in the cool down. We'll simulate that. What we need to do is we need to connect external power. Now we come up here to the overhead. External power is available. We've transferred over. We would verify down here on the electrics page that we have external power. It is actively working. And now let's go ahead and kill engine 2. Seatbelt sign. Engine 1. 10% and we'll kill a beacon. Welcome to Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. Oh yeah, there's 10%. We'll go ahead and kill the beacon light. And that's all she wrote, guys. So let's go ahead and take a look at that replay. I really want to see how that landing was over the threshold there. So what I'm going to do, we're coming here. Let's go plug in admin, enable, disable. Let's disable real view. Oh, somebody wanted to see my real view settings real quick before I disable it. Real view settings. This is what we got here. I'm just going to go through this quick. You can pause it if you want. 19, 19, 13, 32, 13, 13, and miscellaneous. 52 and 19, and that's all I have there for real view. So you can pause that, reference it if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and disable real view for the replay so we don't get a crash to desktop. And let's go ahead and give this a look, guys. Oh, that looks good right there. Let's go ahead and let's watch it from the cockpit here real quick. Alright, so as we're looking at the ND here, let's watch this ND here. Let's study this here. So you can see there's a nice little winch here right there. 50 feet over the threshold. That was perfect. So right. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. So I think that was right about 5.5 degrees of pitch. So that seemed accurate to me. Let's back it up again. That seemed pretty accurate. Let's watch it from a wing view. That was pretty intense. Those winds. Butter in the house, guys. Thanks for the butter there. Fifth Freedom, Carta. You guys give me some butter. I like it. See, I'm really working those ailerons to keep her over the center line. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I'm not sure if what I did made a difference in the stability augmentation. Berlin Flight says, shouldn't you increase it if you want to move your stick less? I don't think so, because if you increase it, what that simulates is more stiffness on the flight control surface. So it's inhibiting the flight controls from moving. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to get more response from my actual joystick position. That was pretty good landing, guys. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good for those conditions. So whatever I set it at now, I'll pull it up again one more time so we can look at it. Let's see here, I'll pause it. So I edited the control sensitivity 11% on the pitch. So this has some pitch stability augmentation. So I really think I like that. I like the way that felt on the way down. Let's go ahead and take a look at it from outside. Oh, don't mind the doors there being open. A little bit of crosswind. That wind was howling, guys. It was like 30-something knots. Right over the threshold. What I could have done better, man, it looks funny with the doors open. I could have used a little bit more rudder on touchdown. Yeah, I could have used a little bit more rudder on touchdown. I wonder if I can close those doors in the replay here. Or if that will crash it. Let's see. Where's the doors? Where's the doors? Where the heck is the doors at? Close, 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 close. Maybe not. Alright guys, well I'm going to leave you guys with a few more replays. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking out the channel. And I really appreciate all my sponsors. You guys are becoming members of the channel. You guys that are subscribing to the channel. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all your donations. Thank you for your support and kind words. If you haven't already, check out our V1 Discord. And I will catch you guys on the next stream. Probably not for a little bit now for a stream, because I'm going to be going away on another trip. But I will be uploading some videos for you. So you all take care wherever you're watching from. I hope you all have a blessed day. We'll see you.